everybody. How you doing? It's Rob. I'm back with my favorite person, Carla. We're both here for a Yoda illustration. Links in the bio. And today we're going to talk about X-Men Apocalypse. We just got to see it yesterday, and I loved it. I give it a 9 out of 10, and I wanted to. Here, you give it your rating.
Well, I didn't love it as much, so I was thinking about giving it 7.5.
Okay, so we're going to discuss why we have different scores for this movie. I also wanted to point out what I think we're pretty much in agreement on this. What I consider like a 10 out of 10 movie would be Ip Man. If you haven't seen Ip Man, I can't really think of a movie that's better than that movie. Another movie I think is, for me, would be True Grit from 2010. I think that's a 10 out of 10. As far as comic book movies go, I would say X-Men 2 is a 10 out of 10. I think that's almost just about a perfect superhero movie. And it's rare that I see a superhero movie that is as flawlessly executed as X-Men 2.
So you gave it 9?
I give it 9.
Okay, and I gave it 7.5.
Right. And like, I think one of the reasons that I give it a 9 is because it hits so many comic book marks for me. I'm more familiar, I think, than the average moviegoer. I'm guessing with X-Men comics. I read them all through the 90s. I don't know if I've ever really stopped reading X-Men altogether. I don't read it all the time. But you haven't really read any X-Men?
No, I haven't really read any X-Men comic books. I watch all the movies, but no, haven't read the comic books yet. So maybe that's why we are like a little different in our scores, because I compared it more to the other X-Men movies where I thought there was like more action. Like for me, the first part of the movie, well, not the beginning, but
we're not going to give
spoilers. I'm not going to say anything.
Okay.
Like the first part of the movie was kind of not boring, but it was like kind of slow. Like I want more action. I mean, they're the X-Men. Like you should have be able to see them like in action. And the first part came for me like a little slow. I was like, oh my god, like please let it be something happening.
I don't know what she's talking about. Well, and you're not talking about the very opening scene, which was full of action, right? You're not.
Yeah, that was okay.
And as far as like upsides for this movie, I think we both agree. You tell me if I'm wrong. That the opening sequence for this movie, I loved. I was so happy. I don't want to talk too much about it because we decided not to give spoilers for people who haven't seen the movie yet, but it was beautiful and brilliant, and it had a lot of crazy action. It was like pretty pulse pounding, I thought, for the first 5 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Maybe. So I just loved that, and again, anybody who's familiar with X-Men from the comic books, they hit a lot of those marks in this movie. A lot, and she knows the marks because I've told her, but she didn't know them until I told her, and I'm wondering if that might if other people might be at a disadvantage for enjoying parts of the movie too if they're not super familiar or even somewhat familiar with the comic books.
You know what happened with me now? Like the first part for me was a little slow because I've already seen how younger X-Men are found, and then taken to Xavier's school in the last movie. Oh, not in the last, the one before. That's not a spoiler. So that search for young X-Men, that was the kind of the part.
You've seen that before, so it didn't seem really new.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what did you think of the X-Men team in this one? We had some faces that we've seen before, and then we were introduced to three not new characters, because the characters have been in the film before, played by different people, but three new actors, younger actors playing some new characters that would be, well, this isn't a spoiler, you can see this in the trailers and the previews. So if it's in the trailers or the previews, we'll talk about it. You see Cyclops, Nightcrawler, and Jean Grey are all new actors for this movie. What did you think about them?
I really liked them, especially Nightcrawler. I really liked him. He was real funny.
And Storm. Sorry,
Yeah, Storm. For me, my favorite was Nightcrawler. He was very funny. He was he was like the funny part of the movie, and I really enjoyed that. Like how he's innocent and he doesn't know very much about it, so he just does what he feels like. So I really liked about him.
Innocent is a good word to describe Nightcrawler. I agree with that. That actor did great. I loved the new. I thought the casting was just great. I thought Sansa Stark as Jean Grey was phenomenal. To me, it kind of popped off the page from the comic book. She just looked like how I would imagine Jean Grey looking like at that age, and I really did enjoy her performance all throughout the movie. I really did like her a lot, and like she said, Nightcrawler was great. Something I really appreciate. I like it when I get a sense that the actors want the part and that they go out of their way to do a great job for the movie. And I really felt like that with most of the actors and actresses in this movie. An example of that is how Storm, who I thought was awesome, she did her accent. And, nothing against Halle Berry, but she didn't do her accent at all. And that makes it seem more real for me. It does. Little details like that really bring me into the picture and allow me to get lost in the story more. Storm had her accent. Nightcrawler had his German accent. Loved it. Same way I loved how Colossus had his Russian accent in Deadpool. That hit it home for me. Like when Tom Cruise didn't do a French accent for Lestat in Interview with the Vampire a long time ago. That really bothered me because I had read all those books and I had imagined the character with a French accent for years, and then there's no accent in the movie. It seems lazy to me.
Yeah, those young actors were really good and I really liked them. But what confused me, for me, that I haven't read the comic books, I've seen the movies, but it seemed like there wasn't much of an age difference between Jennifer Lawrence and the other characters. I was confused when they were telling her, "You're my hero, you're my hero." I'm not sure how old is Jennifer Lawrence, but it seemed like that happened a very long time ago. I'm not sure.
Let's see, this movie takes place in the 80s. Did it say what year in the 80s? Was it 1980? It must have been at least. What year did Reagan? Because Reagan was the president in this film. I'm guessing. I could be wrong. If you know the exact year, let us know. I'm guessing 84 or 85. It took place, and then the previous movie took place in 1973.
Yeah. So from what I understood, 10 years passed.
So so Jennifer Lawrence. Well, her character's supposed to be 10 years old, and you can kind of explain that away in that they're mutants, like Wolverine doesn't age.
Yeah, but Wolverine, that's the only one that doesn't age. The other ones, they're supposed to age.
Yeah, they're supposed
But that was a little bit confusing for me, probably not for somebody else, but that got me a little bit how come Jennifer Lawrence how come Mystique is their hero when they seem like they're 2 or 3 years apart? Probably there are more, but...
And that brings us to Mystique. And I want to talk a little bit about Mystique, and I don't want to just rip on Jennifer Lawrence or Mystique because that's doesn't help anything. But I want to talk a little bit about why I'm not really happy about Mystique in these last three movies of Jennifer Lawrence, because it kind of confuses me a little bit. I'm not sure if I'm not happy with it because I think they kind of rewrote the character of Mystique, where she becomes a hero in the movies, and from the comic books and the cartoon, she's more of a villain, more of like an assassin type character, more like how Rebecca Romaine Stamos played her in the earlier X-Men films. So the change of like who the character is kind of threw me off. Also, what threw me off, it's hard to it is a little bit hard, like when you hear an actress like non-appreciative towards a role, it's not something you can just like I think completely subtract from your mind when you're watching the movie. Like it kind of, well, you know, if she's a little bit, if she complains about being in the role, you're kind of watching the movie, seeing if you can detect her not, you know, whether she's dialing it in or whether she's really appreciating her roles in this movie and taking it seriously. I remember hearing about how she didn't want to have all the makeup on all the time, and then I start wondering, is that why? Did they just write it? I don't think it's too much. You see her as her a lot of the time. You don't see her as Blue. You see her as a regular Caucasian, like how she looks. And I started wondering if that is because she didn't want to be Blue. The actress didn't want to be Blue, so they kind of wrote that into the story. And so all these different.
Well, they
really
explained it a little bit because she didn't want to get recognized because everyone saw her on TV, and she didn't felt like a hero, and every time she was Blue, like they were like, oh, you're my hero. And
I love how she pays it more
and
attention.
She didn't wanna be recognized by that.
Well, so it makes sense, but again, that if I had to say like the lowest point of the film for me would be Mystique / Jennifer Lawrence. And again, like I thought she was great in Hunger Games. I thought I kind of, I felt like she fit that part well.
Yeah.
And she was good in Joy. But I miss
her as Mystique.
I miss Rebecca Romaine Stamos as Mystique. I thought she was just great. She was like so like lizard-like and like acrobatic, and they make this Mystique acrobatic too. But I just feel like Rebecca Romaine Stamos just pulled it off. Like I think I can't even remember anything else Rebecca Romaine Stamos was in. Like to me, she is the definitive. She's
Mystique.
Yeah, she's Mystique. I hope that if they do another one that they can bring her back, and because we talked about it. It's like bring Rebecca Romaine. Other than that, like I was just there was a few moments like I'm a super geek and I'm super emotional, and there's like more than 2, possibly 3 or more moments in the movie where I had to almost hold back tears. I was so happy to see certain things in this movie because they honored the source material. They took it seriously. There was just it's a big movie. It's got a lot of drama. There's a lot at stake in this movie, and definitely worth seeing. Definitely.
Which was your favorite character?
Oh, that's tough. Wolverine's always going to be my favorite, but I'll just tell you he's not in it a lot. He's in it because they show it in the preview.
Yeah.
Aside from Wolverine,
that was a cool scene.
Yeah, great. That's definitely one of the top scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
I think Professor X.
Really, I don't like Professor X, but
I think he's sincere, and I think that I think he looks, man, when they put him in the chair and he finally loses his hair and he's got the jacket on, it looks so much like from the comic books. I was just like, oh man, that he really became Professor X.
Well, I don't like. I don't know if it's the actor or I don't like young Professor X.
You like Patrick Stewart?
Yeah, I really like him. But my
both
favorite
like him.
character was Magneto.
Oh yeah, he did great.
He did great. He went through so much, he had to do difficult decisions. He went through so much. Like you can see his pain. You can see why he was
What's the actor's name?
confused. I'm not sure. And yeah, like you can see where all his actions come from, and you can see like how he's struggling. So like the actor is great, and the character was like really well written. I really like it.
I agree with her completely. He was really well written, and the acting. I know the actor's name. I'm just blanking on it right now, but Magneto. Some of the scenes in there with Magneto, like the acting was so great, and it really made you feel like, and I really appreciate that when you can tell that the guy who's playing Magneto takes it dead serious, and I really appreciate that. He did a great job. He probably was. It's hard to tell. I think him and Professor X are the heart of the movie. She might say that Magneto's more of the heart of the movie, but definitely I think those two characters really tied the movie together and made it great. So if you're thinking about seeing a movie, and I'd say it's a really satisfying experience, and you don't need to read the comic books first. I mean, everything is pretty well spelled out in the movie. You just get bonus points, if you read the comic books. I think like
maybe if you watch Days of the Future Past could help a little understand a bit about Mystique, like why is she a hero,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You can do that.
The two previous films could clue you in a little bit, but again, I don't think they're super necessary. Each one is pretty much its own story contained, which is nice. I don't like it when I've heard other reviewers use the term inside baseball, where you have to be so like intimately familiar with the prior movies or the source material in order to appreciate it, and I don't think you have to be with this movie. It's not too inside baseball. It's pretty user friendly.
Yeah, so go watch it.
Thanks for watching our review. By the way, if you want to see some of my artwork, there's a link below. This is one of the t-shirts I designed, so you can see this and a whole bunch of other designs with the link below. Let us know what you think of the videos, and if there's anything you want us to review, let us know that too, and we'll review it. So I hope you have a good rest of your week. Take care.